Have you heard the good news? Your soul is not on lockdown. Hey, nice cause. But where did all that charity money go? Mercury in Scorpio trines Neptune in Pisces, which trioctiles Venus in Scorpio. It's really easy to invest your ideals in chatter, to communicate your dreams and intuitions, but they may go against the norms or aesthetic of whatever is popular amongst your cluster populace. Beware of people who would eschew those dreams in favor of social norms. Conformity. This is a great day overall for social realization. The warm buzz of the hive mind. Just be extremely selective about who you share your ideas with. For example, you might be Zoom clouding with your family bubble and experience all kinds of warm and tingly, deep, transformative conversation about what is directly relevant to that bubble, and things freshen up. As a result, everybody feels connected, but you might want to save the fascinating breakthroughs on past life regression that you've been having with your elite servitor army for your black sheep uncle. Idealism with a bit of discretion. Pluto in Capricorn quintiles Chiron in Aries. Okay, so the wound is still open, and it's probably around daddy issues. I mean, it's a hidden wound, an open hidden wound, but the infection is cleared up. Now, if you can find it, it's right there. Maybe you can start to dress it down, investigate its nature. Where did it come from? What keeps splaying it open? And what toxic agents is it being exposed to? Do you keep coming back for a hot hit of that poison injection? Is the answer to the cure in the question of the disease? Or is coming back to it more comfortable, safer, and easier? To just say that the disease is the answer and infecting yourself because suffering at least offers more meaning than not? Does it? Look, we all need to acknowledge our dark side, lest we start projecting it onto others. The Holocaust is undeniable, and vilifying them for things we'd rather not see about ourselves. But this is only useful in as far as you see the ugly bits and pieces of yourself and move on through to peace, knowing that this is part of the condition of humanity, that this is part of you, this is part of your inheritance, and to work through it and transmute it. It is not useful to let yourself become obsessed with what hides under every single crack from within that darkness. Remember your childlike light as you investigate the wound in your I am. You have a purpose encoded into your instinctual matrix, and you knew as a child without even knowing it. Remember it. It is the source of reincarnation for you within this life and in this very moment. Lilith squares Jupiter. Lilith is in Aries and Jupiter is in Capricorn. Jupiter eagerly wants to apply the lessons of natural expansion, but is faced with the limitations of the real world in Capricorn. Expansion and the application of wisdom is made further tenuous by a tendency to self-sabotage in the world of the immediate. Wisdom is hampered by reactivity in the moment, but wisdom is also gained by the observation of it. The self that we get to know is made possible by the self that we do not know. In this way, we should never feel wanton for interesting company. Nevertheless, if this aspect touches your chart in any meaningful way, you're probably going to want to avoid making business deals at this time. The saving grace to this aspect is that while Jupiter is in Saturn's domicile of Capricorn, the wisdom of reactivity asks to be turned into fine engineering and architecture based on reactivity and passion. Whether it is used to harness and purify it or oppress and deny it is generally a matter of will. Uranus is unaspected in Taurus, by the way. To which I ask, what would total freedom look like to you? Freedom to move without constraints, to glean the insight that comes with this freedom, to outmode any barrier and reform it beyond its limitations, perhaps beyond recognition. If you are lightning hovering over primordial waters, strike. For nearly 2 days, on the 24th and the 25th, Uranus goes unaspected after a brief in conjunction with the moon, which says, "You're too weird. I'm out, bro. I'm pretty sure you're a hologram anyway, buddy." Uranus in Taurus is possessed of its freedom. Ironic. It shifts the ground beneath its feet, mutating the gene pool of the mycelial network below, creating lasting changes with how the earth itself communicates. Think Schumann resonance, then think of the Schumann resonance as a fractal seed for the speed of light, and peel back the iron curtain of imagination for some strong nuclear fireworks. I digress, but such is the nature of this planet as it does its quantum shifting through the most grounded sign on the earth. How is the playing field going to change? On a world level, this may simply be a buildup toward the revelation of the next transitory aspect to come for our dear, strange, and beautiful planet. But then, raw potency of sudden change will certainly be available, if not downright undeniable, as per your chart. Wait for it though, because when it hits, it is going to hit. Thankfully, not right in the core wound of society, at least not right now. On the 27th, Uranus finally starts exacting a conjunction with the moon and an opposition with Venus. We have to do something. It might not be rational. It might not be ethical. Secrets may be spilled, hearts may be broken, and tribes may be shaken up. Displacement. Some of this is necessary for the evolution of the Earth's spirit. Not that that's going to make me very popular. And will produce the kind of advancement that will lead us to new ways to build, new ways to glean insights into human truths that have been culturally oppressed up until this point. Redistribution of value systems that are either coming up to date with the needs of the world or give us something to aspire to. Or it could be downright cruel and enslaving. Who knows? Our species, this universe, and you are capable of anything. Like RNA transcription and translation, osmosis, the Krebs cycle. Be in this world what the mitochondria is to the cell, an alien adaptation that revolutionizes the very fact of conscious existence. Uranus in retrograde equals reinvention. On the 25th, Chiron in Aries, quintiles Pluto in Capricorn, quincunxes Venus in Scorpio, trioctiles Mercury in Scorpio, conjuncts the moon in Aries. The North Node in Gemini quincunxes Mercury in Scorpio and biquintiles Jupiter and Saturn, which biquintiles the moon. Wow. Keep that conversation with your weird uncle going. Weirder, weirder. Even if it's only in the silence of your own mind, let those strange thoughts dissolve into abstraction, into shapeless form, into felt sense, and into instinct. Shut off your rational mind. Turn off the social medias. Feel this one through your core wounds. Get omnipresent about it. Feel into the core wound of the world. Abandonment, I'm unlovable. Betrayal, I'm unworthy. Abuse, I'm weak. Rejection, I must be perfect. Realize that, as Manly P. Hall said, we are not ill-intended adults. We are well-intended children. Through this expanded lens in the face of the depths of suffering, we can begin to break the conversation down into its component parts and use the understanding that they glean to relate to one another. As Jupiter biquintiles the North Node right between Saturn and Pluto, it's like a tractor beam for all the kinds of responsibilities that the Jupiterian archetype wouldn't normally want to take in its aggrandized scope of life. But here we are, in a position where we must expand ourselves into responsibility for the direction of the human race and become aware of the roles we must take through these challenging conversations with ourselves and with others. On the 26th, the Sun in Sagittarius trines Chiron in Aries and Mercury in Scorpio and biquintiles Mars in Aries. Now is the time to have a willful conversation about what's been going on over the last few days, to finally hash it out rationally and put action to words, knowing with far greater clarity what challenges brought you and maybe the world around you to this point. Warmth, compassion, and proactiveness for your own story and human suffering are the themes of today. Call someone up, hear them out, tell them your story, apologize, or kindly let them know that they've hurt you and that your friendship is valuable enough to do something about, or with self-love, if it feels appropriate, after all that soul searching, a harmful situation has come to an end. You can walk away with your dignity. You have divine permission. On the 27th, the Sun biquintiles Lilith in Aries, while the Moon and Uranus conjunct in Taurus. And get ready for their hot date with Pandemonium in an opposition with Venus in Scorpio. Let's take this deeper and question how your wounds, how the collective wounds, have shaped your desires and fears. Today favors deep investigative work into where you've been motivated by toxic drives and their origins. How have they spilled over into relationships? But importantly, how have you also been successful at transmuting their effects into healthy, sustainable power? And then take a moment to look deeply in the mirror and ask yourself if your definition of power has changed. Bonus points if you are able to share this experience with a solid confidant on a similar evolutionary wavelength as you. This will help you become more resilient in the face of chaos and uncertainty as the moon, Uranus, and Venus get ready to dance with shape-shifting ethical constructs. On the 28th, Neptune goes direct in Pisces. Mercury in Scorpio sextiles Jupiter in Capricorn. If you've got any big ideas for how to transform the fate of the world, now is the day to broadcast them in depth. Neptune is going direct. If you have a vision, move it forward. May your dreams provide the blueprint upon which tomorrow finds its footing. On the 29th, the Sagittarian Sun quincunxes Uranus of Taurus and Lilith, also Taurus, and semi-squares Neptune in Pisces. Oh, the monkey mind will often bring up an element of resistance, even to the very ideals and reforms that your very mind conjured. What kinds of challenges are you putting in front of yourself in lieu of the possibilities you perceive? Sometimes too many possibilities are the challenge. How is society changing? What is worth keeping up with? What within yourself is most worth coming back to? What part of you would endure even if all matter began to crumble? What part of you would remain autonomous and pure even if collective energies were to merge, fold, and glob up indistinguishably? Keep that in your focus for a little while. On November 30th, we have the lunar eclipse in Gemini. The moon semi-sextiles Uranus and semi-squares Lilith, sextiles Chiron, and trioctiles Pluto. Pluto is still quintiling Chiron, but now Venus is too. While Mercury sextiles Saturn, Jupiter biquintiles the North Node, and Lilith semi-sextiles Chiron and semi-squares the North Node, and the Sun is semi-squared by Pluto. This resistance to the ways of the world, healthy boundaries notwithstanding, is very easily a recipe for alienation and paranoia in the grand scheme of things. Death. The moon has one final brush of hard aspects with Uranus and Pluto, opening the possibility of swelling feelings of powerlessness in the face of change before the small self is eclipsed by the shadow of the earth and all that lives upon it. This is not a complete submersion into the darkness, as it is not a total eclipse, but rather a penumbral one. Rather than it being a total reset, like someone, I don't know, God, flipping the light switch off and on really fast, but changing one or two crucial things in the room while you can't see. It's more like exhaling all the CO2 from your lungs and waiting until you can't help it before you inhale again, causing your blood to hyperoxygenate and giving you a rush of energy, which is appropriate for the eclipse in Gemini, which rules over the lungs. I could get lost in the details of this whole phenomenon, but I think a video unto itself is warranted for this occasion. On December 1st, Mercury goes into Sagittarius. The lights are back on and the collective tone of seriousness is eased a bit. we can begin to expand and explore the mental realms with heightened humor and curiosity. In fact, the intensity of having transited Mercury in Scorpio necessitates it. That's the thing. The effluence of energies experienced in one sign always necessitates the energies of the next. When an idea or an essence is played out in its extreme, it transmutes into its opposite, or in the case of the zodiacal wheel, a dynamic set of near opposing energies that function within 12 set stages before being recycled back to the starting point. Here, the arrows of thought are being shot in many directions just to see what lands, what sticks. Where will the mighty hunt lead? Where is the ever hunger for insight taking us? Keep sticky notes handy for your next salient points. Those are going to be the gems that are going to be cut and turned into power crystals of refined, intelligent action when Mercury crowns Capricorn. Write that shit down and don't lose it.